In true Nintendo style, a grueling gauntlet is waiting for you at the end of Donkey Kong Bananza. The final rehearsal is a 6-stage showdown with no checkpoints, meaning if you fail, you'll have to start over from the beginning. Don't worry though, this guide will hopefully help you get through with the minimum of hassle. The first section requires the use of Ostrich Bananza to glide through a thorn-infested tunnel. Now the first part is relatively easy to get through if you stick to the bottom left part of this area, where you'll see 2 guaranteed openings in the thorns every time. With practice, it's possible to get through this area without using even the glide function. You can just sort of fall down through these openings. Now you'll come to a horizontal gliding section. For this part, you'll want to make sure you're not too high or too low. If you're too high, you might get extra thorn spawning to take you out, and if you're too low, you're going to crash and not make it. So make sure you stay roughly in the middle, vertically speaking. As you head through the tunnel, you may want to adjust the camera to slightly above DK so you can see a bit further ahead of you to give you a better idea of where you're going, helping you to steer easier. Once you make it through this section, you'll be presented with another vertical drop, and here you'll need to make use of egg bombs as well as the glide function to get through this section. Try to take out the thorns directly below you to clear yourself a path, and generally speaking, aim for the gaps in the thorns, then use the egg bombs to make the gap bigger. That's the idea, so you don't take damage. You'll want to land on the gold platform in this area, which will automatically shatter once you land on it. This is going to refill your Bananza meter, which will be important later on. Once you've made it out of this section, hold the dive punch button to sail straight down and smash cleanly through the first enemy waiting for you here, then punch the second enemy ahead of you. Just be careful not to punch too far, as there's a spiky wall waiting just beyond it, and if you hit that, you're going to take some damage. If you have taken damage, don't worry, smash the terrain around you in this area to hopefully make an apple or 2 pop out and heal your health. Now for the balloon in the ostrich section, you'll find this along the long horizontal section, and careful flying should nab you this balloon quite easily. Now section 2 contains a mass of rolling spike balls along with spiky walls. This is a really difficult place to navigate. Now I really don't recommend taking the overground path here, it's just too hazardous, although you might need to do that once in order to get the balloon. Once you've got the balloon though, don't ever go above ground again. Instead what you want to do is at the start, as you can see here, drop down a bit and then punch to make DK cling on to the climbable concrete wall, and simply shimmy along the concrete wall, skipping the entire area right the way round to the back, and you can climb up as you can see at this part here, and this is a safe spot to stand where there aren't any rolling spike balls to get you. Now you're going to want to very carefully, and I recommend slowly, walk along this narrow sort of passageway here. Now you're going to need to make use of a rolling jump combined with an overhead punch to get over this gap and take you to the next area safely past the spike walls. This is the method I used to clear this area quite consistently. Just before you hit the blue balloon here, you'll want to transform into Kong Bananza, as we're going to be using it here in this enemy infested elevator. Keep punching away at the blue balloon to make the elevator descend. Now on the way down, you're going to see some enemies spawning above you in 4 sort of windows. What you want to do is keep an eye on these, and when they're about to charge, head to the corner of this area, wait for them to fall down and then punch them out, then go back to the balloon and keep punching. Keep doing this on the way down and you'll hopefully avoid damage. Eventually you'll come to some smaller enemies that will try to swarm you. To deal with these, just simply rotate the control stick while continuing to punch the balloon, and DK should take care of the enemies as well as the balloon at the same time. Last but not least, you'll come to some larger rolling enemies. The strategy for these is the same as before. When you see them about to charge, go to the corner of the area, deal with the enemies by punching them, then go back to the balloon, and hopefully before you know it, you should be at the bottom of this elevator shaft. Now head through to the next area, where you're going to find an interesting section comprised of a lot of stomping enemies and some glowing sort of stone that you can use to clear a path ahead of you. This part is tricky and requires careful execution. It may take a few tries to get right. Basically, you're going to need to make careful use of the glowing moving stone platform below you. Get a chunk of it and swing it around to break a way through the sort of dark walls ahead of you. The glowstone will turn them into soft breakable material. Then when you see the stompy enemies, what you want to do is throw a chunk of this material at around the middle section of these enemies. That should take them out in one hit. Don't aim at their heads, or you'll probably have to use 2 hits to deal with them. Try to take out each enemy before it actually arrives to minimize your trouble in dealing with them when they actually come to try and stomp on you, because if they stomp too many times, they're going to destroy most of your platform and end your chances of getting through this area. At one stage, there's a wide spiky wall that you'll need to use a well-timed jump roll to pass over. Be careful how you'll time this one, because it's easy to mess it up. Up ahead you'll find plenty more stompy enemies. Deal with these as before by chucking the green stone at around their midsections to hopefully take them out cleanly in one hit. Just be careful when you're digging up the green stone, because if you dig too deep, you're going to fall into the pit below the green stone. It's only so deep. So try to only take chunks from areas that you haven't already dug a chunk out of yet. Once you've made it through this perilous section, give yourself a pat on the back and a well-deserved break. If you want to get the balloon in this section, you're going to need to bait one of the stompy enemies over to below where the balloon is, then quickly climb up the said enemy and jump and get the balloon. This is tricky and might take a few tries, so don't worry if you don't get it first try. With this gauntlet out the way, a slightly easier section awaits, thankfully. Now there's no minecart here, so what you need to do is transform into Kong Bananza and grab a chunk of the concrete fractone nearby to make yourself a turf surf platform to ride the minecart rail. Now the reason I say to grab concrete instead of the other floors below you is because we're going to need the concrete later on to get the balloon. Proceed down the minecart track, jumping to avoid the spiky enemies, and then try to jump to avoid the barrel if you want to get the balloon. This is where you'll need concrete in order to make it down the track, because if you get a chunk of the regular ground instead, it's going to break below you and you'll fall down to DK's doom, but concrete won't break or wear away, thus enabling you to get the balloon in relative safety. With the balloon under your belt, head into the barrel and you'll be blasted to the final section. This last section is a barrel rolling gauntlet that is quite tough to get through. I recommend using Kong Bananza here along with Zebra and Snake. You're going to need all three abilities to make it through this area. You can use Snake Bananza to slow down the barrels and clear yourself a slightly easier path, but this section really is all about execution and avoiding those barrels. If you want to get the balloon, as you can see here, you're going to need to use the Kong Bananza's charged punch move to smash your way through the big two rolling barrels. Be careful not to touch them and grab the balloon at the end, then quickly leave before the said barrels come back. Again, you'll be using Kong Bananza to punch your way through the concrete obstacles in this area. Once you've cleared the main barrel rolling section, you're going to need to cross some water. Now in order to do that, you have to use a Zebra Bananza, but you've also got fast moving falling barrels in this area that you can slow down by using Snake Bananza's glare ability. So start things off with a glare, then use Zebra Bananza to make as much progress as you want. In my case, I was able to make it through the entire gauntlet using Zebra Bananza, but beware, this might take a few tries. Pay careful attention to the movement of the barrels and their timing to make it through this gauntlet in one piece. If you've managed to make it through the 6th and final section of this tough gauntlet, congratulations, an easy minecart ride with a gold message saying thank you awaits as your reward. As for what happens after that, well, you'll have to play and find out for yourself. If this guide helped you, please leave a like, subscribe and ring that bell. Thanks for watching.